Hi, how you doing? Happy Canada Day. I'm going to take a little walk around the yard. Such a beautiful evening. We just had a little shower come through. We might have another one come through. Might have to take a little break for some rain, but the lighting is really nice right now, and everything is really fresh. And so I thought I'd take a little walk around the yard, and I thought maybe you'd like to come along with me. My name is Sharon. I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. Welcome to my Sask Garden. I'm going to start right over here with these peppers because I'm just thrilled with how well they're doing. Here we go. If you recall, I had a video, maybe 2 weeks ago now, is it, where I transplanted these peppers into these 10-gallon grow bags. And they are doing phenomenally well. This is the Olympus. And you can see it's starting to set peppers, starting to set fruit. There's a few of them, and it's also blooming really heavy. And the other thing I've noticed about this is just how big the blooms are this year. This isn't the first year I've grown these peppers. The leaves are massive. Comparing to my hand, I'm just absolutely thrilled with them. So this is the Olympus variety. This is Red Knight. It's smaller, maybe more leaves instead of big leaves. But the other thing I've noticed with it is it's actually setting the fruit earlier than the Olympus. And it's doing this in the garden as well. So I have 3 of the Olympus, 3 of the Red Knight, and then these are Flaming Flare, and they are a hot Anaheim type pepper. And they are setting lots of fruit throughout each of the plants. There's quite a number already. And the ones in the garden are setting fruit as well. They are not as advanced as these are. So, so far comparing what's going on in the greenhouse as opposed to what's going on in the garden, the greenhouse is definitely winning. But yeah, so far doing well. The other thing I'm growing in here is a basil plant. I shouldn't say a basil plant. I think this was a 6 cell of basil. This was actually basil seed that I brought back from Sicily. It's really, really nice growing it in this pot. This is one of those 10-inch hanging flower pots, and I think there's 6 plants in there. And so, I just keep pinching, and it keeps pushing out the leaves. And it's it's just a regular basil, nothing special, but it is very tasty, and I've been enjoying quite a bit of it. I bought a new geranium, one of these with the fancy leaves. This is called Mrs. Pollock. I like them. I don't like the blooms, but I do like the leaves. And then I bought another ivy leaf geranium, and the first thing I did when I bought it, taking it out to my car, was I broke a big stem off. So I'm actually got some cuttings going on in there as well, trying to root them. Okay, so now I think we'll just take a look at the pots and how they're doing. This one that I planted up, these are some of those nice geraniums that I bought. The geranium flowers bloomed out, and it's actually been, probably a couple weeks since I've seen a bloom on there. But there are some coming now, thankfully. And nothing on this one. These are 3 of the same kind, and then this one as well. No blooms on there. So, that's just a little bit disappointing. There's an ivy leaf geranium that is doing very well. I have that just on its own in this pot, and I do love those. And over here, now these are the Blanket Surprise petunias. and they're doing okay. This thing in the center, this is Acufia. I was quite excited to try it, but I'm not really very thrilled with it at all. It kind of looks half dried up half the time. You know, it may have suffered just a wee bit of hail damage, but it was looking like this before the hail damage. So I don't know if it's taking that long for it to settle in. I don't know what's going on with it. It's supposed to be self-cleaning, so I shouldn't have to be picking off spent blossoms or anything like that. And I bought two. I have an identical pot going on over here. And this one is doing pretty much the same thing. The foliage doesn't look all that great. Maybe down here it's beginning to look better. So maybe I should just trim all of the top growth off, and maybe that would be helpful for it. And just a couple of hanging baskets that I have. I've cut back drastically on the amount of hanging baskets. I only have 2, 3 this year. And so this is Calibrachoa, also known as Super Bells, and I've got it paired with a geranium. That's working out quite well. I have 2 of those as well. Here are my garage pots. Those are the geraniums that I overwintered and I took cuttings of. And this is Dusty Miller New Look, which I started from seed. And this is Dusty Miller Silver something that I also started from seed. And these are Dichondra, which I bought 3 plants and I divided into 6, 9, 10, something like that. I divided them up into quite a few. I am happy with the way they've turned out. And then I have 3 pretty much identical. They all have the same flowers in them. And here is the 3rd one. Some have more pink, some have more of the reddish pink. It's hard to tell what that color is. It's a beautiful color. I love this color, but it's a difficult one to actually describe. It kind of comes off a little bit more red on camera than it does in person. And then we have the 3 driveway pots. In the top, I have Bacopa, which is this, as well as Nemesia, which is called Whimsy Apple Blossom. There's lots of buds here. It has not been really, blooming its head off. I always see lots of buds, but I never really see lots of blooms. So I don't know if it's not caring for the weather. I don't know. We've had, it seems like almost perfect weather, aside from the odd hailstorm. We've had plenty of rain, and of course I water them as well when they need watering. This one is probably blooming the most out of all 6 of them that I have. And so they're pretty, and they are putting on lots of bulk. We'll see how they turn out a little later in the year. It just might be taken some time to get going. But yeah, the Bacopa is doing really nicely. They usually do nice in this location. And then down there's more Dusty Miller and geraniums. And over here as well is the same. This is the shadiest portion of the driveway bed or driveway pots. And so it's usually just a little less in bloom, although the Bacopa does really like this. It doesn't seem to matter, the sun or shade. So we'll just look at the front yard before we go look at the backyard pots. The front yard here is all daylily. That's the large green grassy stuff that you see is all daylilies. These I split last year, and they are about to start blooming now. These great big ones, which need to be pulled out, They have lots of buds coming, but they are going to be later. And, you know, they desperately need to be pulled and divided, but I'm not going to put them back in here. I have some other plans for this area. This nice shots of yellow, that is Sedum Acre, and I really like them. I sort of let them do whatever they want when they're done blooming. I just simply pull them off, pull the blossoms off, and some of the plants may come with that as well. But there's still growth for next year. And, you know, I think they do seed out a little here and there, but I quite like them. I think they're nicest when they're just left to do as they please. And so that's kind of what I do with them. In this area, I also have lots of hens and chicks, different ones, especially the burgundy foliage. I really like it. I love it with the yellow. Then down here, I have a nice grouping of all kinds of sedum, as well as the hens and chicks of different kinds. And again, I just kind of let them do their thing. And then I take care of it a little later on in the season. And now in this raised bed, I planted all the New Look Dusty Miller. They're doing well. I'm happy with them. I think the dying foliage of the tulip bulbs definitely takes away from the bed, and I may have to rethink this for next year. You know, maybe just pull out the tulips when they're done blooming, treat them as annuals, or let them regenerate somewhere else. This is the ornamental pepper, and you can see that there is lots of hail damage on here. They are already blooming and producing these little peppers, which over here on this plant, there's quite a few. There's a cluster of those little black glossy peppers, and then they will turn red as the season goes on. It's really quite striking when the plant is growing well. These are all oriental lilies, you know, doing really good, except for the few that are so yellow. And I'm gonna just say that's got something to do with the amount of moisture that this bed has been getting. It's really a peaty soil in here. And I also have drip watering set up in here. You know, they're doing okay, but I think I'm gonna have to give some sort of feed, especially this one. Like, everything there is yellow. This is really chlorotic. The other thing I have growing in here is zinnias. Here and there, most of them are still small, but some of them, I have a couple or three that have started to bloom. Hopefully they provide the color and do more for hiding that dying foliage. I'm not happy with that. It seemed like I didn't see it so much last year, but I planted the Dusty Miller a lot thicker last year. That was higher at this point, taller at this point, I think, and so it wasn't quite as noticeable. Here is where I set up all my sun-loving cacti and succulents for the summer. This rack I have actually zip tied to the railing to give it stability. And then these are just to help, you know, in case we get a big windstorm, that maybe that would help stop these pots from falling. They all have a fair amount of weight, and I do have them tucked in pretty tight. And, you know, I have been known to come out here and take the smaller pots off if there is a big storm coming. But this is, I think, the third or fourth year that I put them all in this corner. And they do well. I don't know if you can see this, but we're getting a little sun shower. A little cloud passing over. We've had 85 millimeters, which is 3.3 inches of rain in the last 3 weeks. It almost feels like it's like a normal June, which is, quite thrilling, actually. I don't know the last time we've had a year like that where we've gotten, nice showers, gentle, for the most part, they're fairly gentle rains, aside from the one hail storm, but otherwise. So just moving on into the backyard. Speaking of hail, these hostas are recovering. They're doing okay. There's still some tattered leaves, but it hasn't been too long since that storm, and they are looking okay. Oh, just a little bit of a wind gust going on. Over on this side, this Brunnera is finally starting to do something. The leaves are getting a little bit bigger. That one was planted last year, and that one is, I think, Jack Frost. I think I was calling it Jack of Diamonds, and I believe I was wrong about that. I found a note that said Jack Frost, so. And a Ligularia, no blooms on that yet. The Virginia doesn't get affected by hail. It looks good. Doesn't get affected by slugs. Somebody should take Virginia and start doing things like, making pretty hosta leaves with Virginia, that toughness. Anyways, there's a Pulmonaria and another one. This one is called Pinkaboo. I like this one. It's got a lot more white on it than the other one, which just can't remember that name at the moment. And then this one is called Queen of Hearts. This Brunnera right here is Queen of Hearts, and I just planted it. Jack Frost looked pretty good last year too when I planted it, and it seemed to struggle coming back. And this is the wee hosta. It had a wee bit of damage with the hail, unfortunately, because it was looking so nice. The globe flower and those wax begonias are still looking great. I like these. I'm going to keep on planting them. I think they're quite nice. This is my Queen of the Prairie, Filipendula. This is Venusta, Queen of the Prairie. Anyways, I was a little bit concerned with last year. It came back very, very slowly, and I was considering moving it this year, but it's actually doing okay this year, and it's going to start putting on some blooms. So I'm sticking with my plan to leave it here for a while and see how it does. And hosta, and then what is blooming a lot in my yard right now is all the Martagon lilies. These were all started from seed by me. Actually, I started the first bunch from seed, and then I just kind of kept throwing seed here and there, and they have done their thing. It was a pink and white blend when I got them, so now I have this spotted type, and I have some that are not so spotted, and of course I do have the white. The white always seem, wherever I have white, they do seem stronger. They seem bigger. They get lots and lots of those little downward facing blossoms. I do like this one though. That's nice. That's nice to get a different looking one. And that's the thing about seed, you never know what you're going to get, what kind of a combination you're going to get. That's the fun part. Up here on the deck, more geranium pots, and in here I have another Calibrachoa, which is doing okay, but Calibrachoa really do like heat. They certainly excelled last year in the heat that we had, and not performing quite the same here as they did last year. It's a different cultivar as well. So, and then yeah, these geraniums aren't blooming either. So It might be the heat. That might be the thing. And coming down into this is the sunny portion of the backyard, I guess. The tree peonies have done blooming. The daylilies in this area, well, the daylilies everywhere are not yet blooming. The tree peonies grew massive this year, like height-wise. The lilies also are not yet blooming. They're looking good though. And the iris are about done blooming. So see what happens here with the tree peonies. Lots and lots of seed heads there. So I'm going to come in and cut those off. Also, you can see all of the hail damage. That's all scarring from hail. And then over here I have, I'm going to have to figure out what the name of this peony is, but she is massive. This one is actually supposed to be very, very late. It's not late this year. Some years it's well into July before it actually starts blooming, but it's just a gorgeous peony. Its blooms are gorgeous. The growth habit is a little hard to contain, and then when you do contain it, it sort of looks contained. It's you know, it grows just so darn big, and it gets these heavy heads with lots of side buds. And this dark leaf plant is a Heliopsis. Hearts on Fire, I think is what it's called. And the common name for Heliopsis is false sunflower. This one does have a nice bloom. I planted this, I think, 3 years ago. And last year one didn't come back. I actually planted two, and it didn't come back for whatever reason. But this one it appears to be doing well. And this is a this is a huge planting of monkshood, or aconitum. It's the purple and white bicolor, and it's of course not blooming yet. It's starting to work on making its blooms. I do have plans actually to take chunks of this and put them in a few other places in the yard, but it's actually quite impressive that the way it's grown and the way it likes this corner. I have more monkshood here. This is the solid purple variety. I just planted this in here. I have a bistort, and I just had it planted over on the other side, and it did not seem to be happy there. So I split it, and I put part of it here and part of it just in the back border. More hail damaged hosta. This is El Dorado. It's like a sibling of Carl Forster, same kind of grass, except this has a yellow stripe to the leaf, to the blade. This one is starting to push its seed heads. It almost looks, now that I'm looking at this, I want to say that some of it may have reverted to Carl. It's hard to say. Some of the leaves look solid green on this side. That could have happened, I guess. More daylilies and more Martagon lily. Here's a Veronica just starting to bloom. This area right here is actually just a little bit shady from the lilac tree that's just above. So from midday on, it would be more in shade than in sun. The clematis is not yet blooming, but it's got lots of buds going on. And it's grown quite tall this year too. It's also mixed up with more Martagon lilies. I have some flax going on here. And this is a type of dianthus. It actually looks like grass sometimes. You know, you think your beds have just grass in them, but they are these these Dianthus I forget this. I forget what type of Dianthus it is, but it's just got these little pink flowers that and it's quite tall. I'm going to say 18 inches or so. And they just kind of wave in the breeze. I like them. And I just let them seed out for the most part, because I usually tend to pull up some thinking that they are grass. And so here's what's going on back here. These hosta are doing well, and they were somewhat protected by the willow tree just above it. So the hail didn't hurt this section too badly. Lots of martigons in this area. Along with this was so sad. These were so beautiful this year. The leaves are just huge. You can see the size, and the hail, they were not protected by the willow tree, unfortunately. And then in here I also have Thalictrum. That's this plant, which is meadow rue. I like this plant. It has a leaf very much like columbine, but I like these blossoms, and I like the foliage after it's done blooming too. It's nice. Yeah, that's an oriental poppy in my shady area, and one of these years, when it's still dormant in the spring, I'm going to dig it out. But oriental poppy has a taproot, and so that makes them difficult to move. It's best to give that a whirl when they are dormant. So I will try and do that at some point. And then we have golden ninebark behind, and there's going to be more martigons, more Thalictrum. I'm letting this grow, this globe thistle, because they really want to grow here, and they really seem to grow well here. So I'm gonna give it a whirl. Globe thistle are ridiculously easy in my yard. If there's a plant that I'm going to say loves my yard, it's going to be globe thistle for sure. Peonies. I've been cutting them lots. I cut them for bouquets, and a flower like that is just perfect for cutting. It's that marshmallow stage. So there isn't a lot on the plant, and as well, I'm not getting as much bloom as I used to, simply because of the shade from the willow trees. But they are still blooming. I never have plans to dig them up. They've been there now for since 1998, 27 years. And I did try digging up a smaller one, and that was nearly impossible for me. So they are just going to have to do whatever they want to do. More martigons here. These ones have nice spots as well. We took out more trees. I don't think you've seen that update, that this is all bare here, back here now. So I still want to work on making sure all of the suckers are going to be dead before I go ahead and plant something different, which is probably going to be high bush cranberry. This area that I planted up is doing pretty good. The impatiens got hit by hail. They were just starting to, put on buds again and color, and then the hail came. But I'm sure they'll start up again. Heuchera are doing okay. So are the astilbe. This is starting to bloom now. Perennial geranium is doing okay. Not as many blooms as I get in the sunny areas. So it will grow and it will bloom in a part shady area, but it won't bloom as heavy. Still loving that peachberry ice, although that also got hit with hail. I did find another one, so I can plant it just over here. I left a space for it because I really do like it, so I think it'll look nice just right over there. It has some good companion plants to go with it. In the back here, I have 9 peonies, and they definitely made up, you know, the majority of the color while this was a sunny bed. I shouldn't say the majority of it, but it, you know, this time of year, they really did provide a lot of the color. I think the Martigons are doing a pretty good job of that right at the moment, and they are surprisingly long blooming, probably because most of them are in part shade, so they don't get fried by, if we get a heat wave, they don't get fried by that. And this is Buckskin Babe, a long blooming iris, actually. I've been seeing this one in the yard here and there. I have a few of them, and I've been seeing it for probably at least 2 weeks now. In the back there, I also have some delphinium, and the other plant that grows really well in this yard is false sunflower, or Heliopsis, and this variety is Summer Sun. So the bush had come to here, to this area. Actually, it swallowed up these shrubs. These are Diablo 9 bark, which are now coming back to life. And it had all but swallowed them up. And so they were also encroaching. Oh, I see a giant thistle. They were also encroaching the peonies, which probably didn't help. Maybe next year the peonies will actually do better. See that lovely? Maybe that's why the ornamental thistle will want to grow so darn easy in my yard. It's just meant for thistles. Here's the other hosta. This one has really nice blooms. Aside from that nice leaf color, it's just got really very nice blooms. Nice color blooms. Mention over in this corner, this is where the globe thistle want to grow, that I had a very nice stand of columbine here this year. They are all this color. And I don't much care for it. When all of them were blooming, it wasn't, you know, too bad, but it's a darker corner, and kind of, I don't know, they're not very showy. I did buy new columbine this year. I bought 6 plants, 2 of 3 different colors, and so I'm going to try and spruce this up a little. I do have that same columbine growing through here. It might show up a little bit better through here just because it is a little bit brighter. I cut all the rest off. These still had a few blooms. I'm not sure that I really care for this very much. This is another shrub that I'm going to have to find the name for. It's nice. It's nice when it blooms. It's very aromatic. Bees like it, but it has a very nice scent. But this is what happens with it, is it gets these bare legs and lots of growth on the top. So next year I will be giving it a big trim. We cut out this tree. This is the one that had all the bad sapsucker damage. And so we'll just leave it grow. We'll see what it does and then prune it into shrub form probably. In the meantime, that ornamental crab will do the job that's necessary on this side. There's a bunch more iris growing along here. Back here, a few more things. This is the betony, the Humelo Stachys, or betony. And so that is just starting to form its buds. More iris. You know, I have a bunch of iris that are not blooming this year. This is one of them. It's growing beautifully, no problem with it, but it's just not putting on any blooms. And I've noticed that with a number of other iris in the yard, that somehow they're just taking a year off, it seems. I have another phlox growing here, and it doesn't really want to do much here. This is White Flame, and I actually transplanted this from another area of the yard because I thought it wasn't really doing all that great there either. So I thought it needed to be moved, but it's also not doing much over here, so I may have to move it again. I'd like to leave it for another year just to see if it decides to smarten up and start growing. It's not very far from this phlox, which is doing just fine. This is a different variety. Bloomed beautifully last year. I just don't recall the name of that one at the moment. And then through here, this is a Carl Forster right here. There are more iris, more daylilies, more peonies, and a few lilies. This is a nice iris too. This one is called Noble Lady. And it's a very nice one. It had a beautiful bloom this year. But the iris are, they're almost all done, pretty much. There's another pretty iris right there. And then this is a large stand of false sunflower. It just fills this area up. When it gets going, it does, I think I've mentioned before, it does take a minute for false sunflower to pop up. And I probably looked at this last week and it was maybe an inch high, and then all of a sudden you look at it and it's this tall. It's 3 feet tall and starting to bloom. So that's how false sunflower or Heliopsis works. So overall, the backyard is doing nicely this year. I mentioned that I have clustered bellflower in this center section, and it's blooming. It's got lots of blossoms and stuff, but I think that it would be happier with more sunshine. It's a little bit too shady for it. I think I also didn't show off the goat's beard, which is going to have a nice bloom this year. It's just starting to form. It's going to be completely white in about a week. And there are the lilac trees. This is ivory silk lilac. I have 2 of them. This one is a little bit more, the flowers are a little bit more open than the other one. The other one as well is just chock-a-block full this year. And the hail took out, it didn't, break any of those off. But the next day there was lots and lots of those tiny little flowers. Those are panicles of lots and lots of flowers. And so the hail knocked off a lot of those little buds. And then just going into the rock garden, these iris were just gorgeous. It's so unfortunate that they don't last, 3 or 4 months. Here we have a bellflower, harebells, and this one is called Rapido Blue. Oriental lilies are also in this area, also just growing huge this year. And they're mixed in with some daylilies. This phlox is doing really well here. This one. There was another one that was growing just down there. No, that was an echinacea that I lost over there. That's right. Also doing really well here is Boom Chocolata perennial geranium. That's what this is. And you know, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with it. I wasn't certain how it was going to be. It's big. It's standing up. You know, it actually did not suffer from the hail whatsoever, and lots of buds. Lots still to open. So yeah, I do like this one. This one is. It's also growing a little bit more than I had anticipated, because this is an echinacea in behind it that's kind of getting a little bit crowded out by this. So I'm going to let this bloom and see how much longer, and then I'll shear it back a little bit, which hopefully will then allow that echinacea to do its thing. This rock garden is looking pretty good. Sedum acre. At the top there is Sedum kamchaticum. That's this one over here. And that's been in bloom for a while. Then the orange on there is the seed heads, or the blooms that's how they fade. There's a creeping phlox over here. I may have called this thyme in the past. It's a phlox. It's nice. I like it. It's really creeping a lot, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull up sections and give some of them a new home. Hens and chicks. This one, I think this one as well, I called something Orostachys. I called it Orostachys in the past, but it's actually Jovibarba. I made a mistake on that. And they have these little things are, the chicks aren't attached. They're rollers, and then they break off and they roll somewhere else, and then they start new plants. And that is a new dianthus. We'll see if it winters. In the meantime, this dianthus is looking beautiful. The original plant that I bought died, and this is a seedling from the original plant. It's doing nicely, just absolutely covered with blossoms. There is my back in black sedum coming along nicely. Smaller than I had anticipated it would be, but it is coming, and it looks nice in that big circle of sedum acre with all those yellow flowers. That sedum acre, you know, it's a bit of a pain because it kind of seeds out and stuff, but it sure does look nice when it's blooming. I find the bloom period to be fairly good, you know, overall. Same thing with the Sedum kamchaticum. I quite like it. I like the orange that it fades to. If you can handle the seeding out, it's nice for a good part of the year, you know. And I've mentioned before that one is just so hardy that you could probably grow it in a raised planter above ground, and it will winter in that. These iris are now blooming for the second time. I got these in a trade. I don't know what they are, but they bloomed 3 times last year. I'll see if they do that again this year. The first bloom was awful heavy. I cut everything back, and it's blooming. All 3 clumps are blooming again. Here we have back to the fuchsia salvia, and she is just finishing blooming. So I will cut it all the way back now and hope for a second flush of blooms. It was very, very showy while it was in bloom, I'll tell you. I do love that plant a lot. Just below it, I have a burgundy leaf sedum. And over here, I have all of the Sajuga, the marble. The last time you saw it, it may have been all in blue, like in bloom with blue blossoms. I'm now going to come in and cut off all of these, all of those seed heads. I'm assuming that there's seed in there. And then this is black scallop. I'm liking the way this is growing. I'm very happy with it. And I'm going to pick up pieces of it like this, which I'm assuming are going to root easily. I picked up some before and they actually had roots showing underneath. So I'm going to move some of that around, and I like it. But then again, I really like dark foliage plants. And moving on in here, I just have, this is onyx and opal, onyx and pearls. I think I call it onyx and opal all the time. It's not doing as well this year as it did last year. It is putting on a bit of bloom. I don't know, you know, some plants, they have an off year, but last year I was just so impressed with this. This is a penstemon, onyx and pearls. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And last year it was twice as high. I don't know the problem, but it has wintered now for its third season. And so we'll see how it continues to do. Maybe it's one of these short-lived perennials that kind of fades. I hope not. It's awfully nice. Here is another one of the Color Spires salvia, and this one is called Indigo Girl. Indiglo Girl. It's like a sister to the fuchsia. Sister, brother, sibling. Also needs to be cut back now. These are, in my opinion, far better than any other salvia I've grown. And then we have more ajuga. And this is a Veronica, just like the backyard, just coming into bloom. And another penstemon. This one is Dark Towers, and it's doing well this year. And actually, I just planted it in the fall of last year, or late summer last year. I have one other penstemon over here that is doing much better this year than it did last year. This is its third year. And this one is Midnight Masquerade, and it's just about to put on some blooms. This is just from the other side. It's not very tall. I expected it to be taller. This is maybe 14 inches with the blooms. And I did expect it to be close, you know, more like the 2.5 foot range. There's some clustered bellflower beside it, so kind of the same size pretty much. Overall, I'm very happy with the rock garden, how that's come about. So just going over to the garage bed. Sun is out here now, so I'm not sure how that's gonna show up, but the lilies are doing very well here. Ooh, that's pretty dark. There we go. These are called Hop Holland, and they're going to be just orange, like seriously orange. I got them free, actually, with some order a number of years ago. I want to say it was from Vessie's, but I don't recall for sure. And they are an amazing lily, really. More lilies in through here. Big shadow. I have lupins this year, and that doesn't always happen. They do tend to seed. I have had them trying to grow them in here. I do like to let them go to seed in here and then let them do their thing. their thing generally is not all that great, but this year they're having a pretty good year. The iris are really doing well along the garage bed here. So I'm going to be moving a few more. This one's nice. So in this bed, there's daylilies, and there's lilies, and there's iris, and there's phlox, and there's baby's breath, and there is a few seedlings of bush clematis. This is Clematis integrifolia. And I also have one. They often are called Stand By Me, but that's a named cultivar. Mine are not. Anyways, I have a pink seeded variety. If I can keep them small and make sure I pick off all the seed heads, then I'm going to be okay with them. But they tend to just seed out prolifically for me. That's another plant that really loves my yard. I think between the globe thistle and that, if I just did nothing, they would take over. Here in this shady corner, I planted that small goat's beard. I think it's supposed to get to 3 feet, so here's hoping. But it seemed like a good corner for it. And with any luck, it will mask. It will grow up and mask this rain barrel a bit. Here's my ever-growing cart of perennials that need to be planted. You know, while I'm at it, I don't know if you recall, I winter sowed painted daisies and Shasta daisy. So I landed up with a dozen Shasta daisy. I don't recall the variety. And then painted daisy. I didn't land up with that many of the painted daisy because at some point in the winter, the winter sowing jug just tipped over and everything got all kind of mixed up. And so not as many germinated. You know, more may germinate because I just kind of took out clumps and transplanted. More may still germinate in there. It's hard to say. And this is the Dalmatian bellflower that I seeded way back in the winter still. Looks like it's about to start blooming. This also still needs a home. Oh yeah, it's going to start blooming. That's nice. I'll be able to see what it looks like before I plant it. A couple of new perennials just this past week is a Trollius cultorum alabaster. We'll see how that does. It's a very pale yellow, I think. And Veronica spicata red fox. They both looked nice and healthy. They were on a good discount, not clearance, but a good discount. In through here, this area needs a new mulching, another mulching. It's gotten thin. The apple trees are doing very well. The apples are, let's see, apples are doing good. I don't normally thin. I sort of let that happen naturally, which it does appear to do. And I just can't get up high enough to get that done. So however they grow, they grow. And this one is the Norland apple tree. And back here behind me that I walked by is the Norkent. They are also producing good fruit. This is the one that I talked about in another video, having chlorotic leaves. And I did a treatment of chelated iron. And you know, that seems to have worked somewhat. The leaves are still chlorotic, although not near as yellow as they were. And so maybe it will need another treatment, which I can do. I don't want to give it too much, you know, because that can have problems as well. Here's another herb that I've been growing in a pot. This is spearmint, growing very well. Also started from seed. And I have been clipping it whenever I feel like I need some mint. And yeah, it's growing good. It's a good way to grow that, I think. So now over here we're getting into almost 8 o'clock in the evening, so that sun is pretty low. This is still, the house caps are still all covered up. I actually came in today and picked 2 good-sized bowls, and there's at least another bowl left on the plant. Some of the berries were not quite ripe, and I picked until I had 2 bowls, and I thought, oh, that's enough for today. But they're still ripening. I've still covered them. I see the birds are still around, so the zucchini plant in the 5-gallon pail is doing well. Overall, I'm happy with it. I had hoped to have 2 5-gallon pails of zucchini growing, but as it turned out, I only got this germinate. So just this is the sort of the back area of the rock garden, and what's going to be rock garden part 2 over there. More Martagon lilies. Here we have lady's mantle coming into bloom. I love that plant. I love to put it with peonies in a bouquet. This is Phlomis tuberosa. It's a very large plant. It also will seed out with wild abandon. So maybe if I just have this one, I can contain, it does make a nice bush. It's a very big, robust perennial, and it may need staking. That's the only issue with it. This is Johnson's Blue perennial geranium. See how much nicer bloom you get than in part sun or part shade. And this one is Bloodroot Geranium sanguineum, and this is only actually its first year. I planted this one here last year, and I'm hoping it will spill out all around this area and cover those logs. So yeah, this one is doing beautifully here. I really like it. It also is in a tomato cage. More Martagon lilies. You can see how they really do add something to the yard at this time of year. And lots of lamium, which did have a night, I think it's just finishing its bloom now. The lamium as well provides ground cover all the way under the tree. It just creeps and creeps. Over on this side, a lot more lamium. And I thought I successfully killed this common elder. I guess I didn't. And I'll have to cut that down again. But as it is, I think everything is coming, like all the trees and shrubs will be coming out. And then, again, Martagon lilies and lady's mantle and lamium. And the lamium goes all the way in through here. It's a very dark corner in here. It does a very good job of covering everything up. And you don't have to, you don't have to do anything with it. You just let it be, pretty much. And then it grows all the way along the path here with lilies growing up through it as well. Vegetables. This is cantaloupe. And I have a few cantaloupe that have started. There's that one. There isn't. Oh yeah, it's over here. And they're putting on pretty good growth. Now I have been covering these every night, but I open it up during the day and I cover them at night. And I probably will tonight as well, because I understand the wind is supposed to really pick up. These plants on this side, so there's 3 cantaloupe, and these are 3 honeydew, and they are also producing fruit, which appears to have been pollinated. Where are we there? There we go. And I think each of the plants here, I was looking at them earlier today, and I think each of the plants, look at all the blossoms. My goodness. It is just blooming its head off. Here's my cabbage and broccoli. Broccoli is down the center. And there's just one tiny head starting there. It's doing well. And the cabbage is starting to form heads. The cabbage is Tiara. And the broccoli is, I want to say Big Chief or Chief, something like that. But I'm pretty pleased. There's 11 cabbage. I actually had to pull one out because it looked like it was getting eaten up by worms. And so I'm wondering if a butterfly, a white butterfly, managed to sneak in and laid eggs on that particular cabbage. Anyways, I pulled the whole thing out because I didn't want to start messing with trying to fix it. And I don't see any evidence of any more damage. But yeah, it's doing well. It's enjoying the weather we're having, the rain, etc. In this bed we have the bush beans all along this side. And I do run string just to, when they start getting full of beans, they start to lean a lot. And so I do run string. And they're just about to start blooming. By the looks of it, they're looking good. I actually planted a second row of beans today right here. And that is just so we don't have, tons of produce all at once that we can't eat too much of. And so these are the peppers. I have 2 plants of the Flaming Flare, the hot peppers, and they have a number of peppers on them as well. Those Flaming Flare peppers are very prolific. So overall, the peppers in the garden bed, they're doing okay. I do think the ones in the greenhouse, of course, are doing much better. In this bed is the butternut squash. This is the early butternut hybrid. And I was looking in there today, and I think I see the beginnings of some blooms about to start. They are all doing well. There's 5 plants, and I've also been, this one you can see a lot in the interior there. I think that's lots of blooms about to start happening. And I've been covering these at night as well. Potatoes are blooming. Potatoes are doing phenomenally well this year. These are all Carib variety. The garlic you would have just seen, I did a video on garlic scape relish. If you've not seen it, the garlic scape relish is very good. And so I had a video on making that. This is all my onion. Got a little bit beat up by the hail. And, well, what are you going to do? It's going to be okay anyway, I'm sure. Over on this side, these are the Lisianthus. And I kind of thought they'd be bigger, but maybe I'm just impatient. I don't think they're going to bloom until August or something, so there's still lots of care required for them. And I'm not sure that I will grow them again. But it's been an interesting experiment to grow them. And then back in there is a lot of lettuce. They are also liking this type of weather that we're getting, as well as the chicory, which I like. I like eating those leaves in salad. These poor things are my cucamelon. I don't know if they're going to amount to anything. I'm tempted to put a few more seed in. These of course really got beat up by the hail, as did my cucumbers. The dill that I seeded is coming up nicely. I think this is a fern leaf dill. And the lettuce also got beat up some by the hail, but that just grows and grows, especially with this kind of weather. I do have some cucumbers. This is the quarantine cucumber that also got beat up by hail. And this is, I think, Summer Dance, and this is a long English. It should be, they usually outperform any other cucumber that I grow, and so they're definitely having a struggle this year, unfortunately. It's too bad. I think the hail did set them back. But there's new growth coming now. So if we get some heat, they'll be good to go. And finally, for the vegetables, there's my carrots. Not, I have sections like this where nothing germinated for whatever reason. And some of it did take a while to germinate, but usually I have too many carrots, so that'll be good. That'll be plenty. These are the tomatoes. They are doing okay. Again, lots of scarring from the hail. This one is the Plum Regal variety, and it's already set some fruit. It's also got quite a few blooms, so it's doing okay. This one is Juliet, and she gets quite tall. Also has set quite a bit of fruit. This one is one of my Sicilian tomatoes, or the seed that I bought in Sicily. This one is called Borghese, and also has set fruit. Where is that? There it is. This one is Esterina. Also has tomatoes set and blossoms happening. I'm sure this would also appreciate some good old-fashioned heat. We had such nice heat at the end of May, and then it kind of stopped. This one is another one from Sicily, and it is Fiorentino. No fruit set on this one yet. It might be a late tomato. This obviously has been damaged by something. I'm going to have to prune this out tomorrow because there's abnormal growth on here. See that? The stem has gone wonky. It could have been from the hail, I suppose. It's just about to do some blooming, so maybe we'll see some fruit soon. But yeah, slower tomato for sure. This one is called Beef Maestro, and that one I'm growing on a whim. So far, not pleased with how that fruit is shaped. And this one is another Plum Regal, and fruit set on that one as well. So there's my tomatoes. Here's the giant fleece flower in full bloom, looking lovely and doing exactly what I want her to do, and that is provide me a view through this hedge. Just down here, I have nodding onion, which is an ornamental type of onion, just about to come into bloom. It's actually really pretty in bloom It has these kind of dangly bell-like blossoms. And I guess the last thing I'll talk about is my disappointing strawberry bed. They are all so full of chlorosis. And I just don't know why. It's not like the soil is full of clay. They are blooming prolifically. Now the fruit are starting to turn red, but the leaves just, my mom used to grow strawberries and they looked exactly like this until much later in the season when it got a lot warmer. And I'm just wondering if I need to remove all of that mulch and grow them without mulch so that the soil would be a lot warmer. And I may, before I tear them out and say I'm not doing that again, I may need to try that. I don't know. Frustrating. But they're all pretty much like that. They are all showing chlorosis. I just don't want to grow something that I have to treat all the time because, I want something like glowflower that just grows with wild abandon. That's what I want. This one looks pretty good. It's the one furthest from all the others, but then its neighbor over here is weak and yellow as well. So I can't grow strawberries. Oh well. Hey, thanks very much for hanging out with me this evening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, tell your friends, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. See you.